All right, let's get right into it. We've all been there, right? Staring into that glass box, carefully guiding that metal claw, just hoping to grab that one prize. But what happens when you finally win and you end up being accused of a crime? Today, we're unpacking a truly wild case where a simple arcade game spirals into a baffling legal nightmare. I mean, seriously, who hasn't? You feed it your money, the claw has all the gripping power of a wet paper towel, and the prize just slips away. It's frustrating, sure, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. You walk away maybe a couple of bucks poorer. But imagine this. What if you did win? The prize got stuck, and reaching in to grab what you rightfully paid for landed you in court. Well, that's the absolutely bizarre reality at the heart of this story. This isn't just about losing a few quarters, this is about potentially losing your freedom. Okay, so let's start from the top. We're about to find out that this wasn't just any old game. Nope, this was a game that was allegedly designed from the ground up for you to lose, in more ways than one. On the surface, the facts seem super simple. It's March 2025. A person plays a claw machine, just like anybody else. They win, but then the prize gets jammed on the way out. You know the drill. So, being a paying customer, they just retrieve the item they won. Seems like a totally normal thing to do, not a criminal act. But here's where it gets crazy. This wasn't just a faulty machine. According to the documents, it was a trap. The prize chute was illegally narrowed. The infrared sensors were messed with. The whole thing was engineered to make prizes get stuck. And the cherry on top? The prizes themselves were counterfeit goods, totally pirated items that shouldn't have even been there. And get this was the operator's actual excuse. He argued that because the prize didn't trigger his rigged sensor, it technically wasn't a win. So the very system that he allegedly set up to fail was now his legal defense. Unbelievable. And right here is where the story just flips on its head. Instead of the operator facing the music for alleged fraud and for selling fake stuff, the entire focus shifts. The person who played the game, the victim, suddenly becomes the accused. And this wasn't just some empty threat. This was a real official indictment for theft. What you're looking at is the actual case file. All of a sudden, getting your prize from a rigged game has escalated into a formal criminal charge. So let's just break this down, because the contrast is, wow. On one side, the crime is a paying customer getting a prize they won. On the other side, you have the stuff that was apparently ignored, an operator allegedly running a rigged game and selling illegal merchandise. You tell me which one sounds like the bigger deal here. And this really gets to the heart of the whole mess. The case files show that the prosecutor was specifically told the prizes were fake, and yet they still decided to go after the consumer for stealing that very same counterfeit item instead of, investigating the guy running the scam. But the indictment, that was only the beginning. The legal process that came next became its own kind of punishment, long before any judge ever had a chance to rule on the case. This brings us to a really important concept you see in human rights law. It's called soft detention. This isn't about being locked in a cell. It's when the process itself, the endless waiting, the uncertainty, the restrictions on your life, that becomes the punishment. It just traps you in this horrible legal limbo. And just how long did this limbo go on? We're talking 8 to 9 months. The case was just stuck with no end in sight. That is almost a full year of someone's life just paused, all because of a rigged arcade game. And the real-world impact was just devastating. This person couldn't leave Taiwan. Their career in the tech sector was completely derailed. They were met with unexplained delays and got evasive, nonsensical answers from the authorities. The documents say it all led to significant psychological distress. And on top of everything else, there were these huge procedural failures. For instance, a formal request for medical leave was filed. The prosecutor's office even stamped it, officially acknowledging they got it, and then crickets. No yes, no no. They just went ahead with the indictment as if that request never even happened. So when your own country's legal system seems to be failing you, where else can you possibly turn? Well, for this person, the absolute last resort was to appeal to a higher power, an international one. So a formal complaint was sent to the United Nations, specifically to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. The whole complaint laid out the violations of the right to a fair trial, really hoping that some international oversight could help. And this was the answer they got back. A hard no. Crystal clear and final. The email, dated May 21st, 2025, just flat out says the complaint can't be accepted or reviewed. The last possible door was just slammed shut. So why? Why was it rejected? It comes down to something called a protection gap. Basically, the UN committee can only look at complaints from countries that have signed a specific treaty, the optional protocol. And since Taiwan isn't a signatory, the UN's hands were tied. There was no legal way for them to step in. The road just ended. And that leaves us here with this really profound and deeply unsettling question. A story that started with something as silly as a claw machine ended up exposing huge cracks, not just in a domestic justice system, but in the international human rights framework, too. It really makes you ask, when all the official systems fail you, when every door is closed, where in the world is a person supposed to find justice?